All right, so kind of bummer we got kicked out of.
Are we gonna go all the way to the end of this one, Dan?
The next spot was just like
I don't know. We'll feel it out.
Fabulous spot.
Yeah, it was.
We'll feel it out. I
Really
want to
scared.
see a little bit of it at least.
Which was just like
I'm gonna jump ahead here. I mean, yeah, I've been seeing a little bit from this spot recently, and this looks pretty awesome. This, I believe, is California, right?
That's
where
cool.
Bobby lives.
That was a cool B-roll shot.
Yeah.
That was sweet. Have you seen this spot before? It's part of
That's pretty sweet. Look at all those gaps up top.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, nice.
Was Light really the kind of the one who got that? Who started doing that real close B-roll of the drone flyover?
He was the first one that I remember doing it, and Light inspired me to kind of do that sort of thing too. I mean, I'm not gonna say that Light invented the, close. That was sick. Close-up B-roll shot, but he was the first one that I saw in FPV do it.
His had a certain look to it. Like a lot of the stuff we were seeing before was further out.
Yeah.
And he got that real. I remember the exact shot. I just love that it's getting really adopted.
Yeah. Oh, Light was in Seattle, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
Right? Did you know Light FPV?
I don't think so. Light FPV?
Light FPV. He is... I feel a little embarrassed not knowing this exactly. I don't know if he's Chinese or Taiwanese. But anyway, he moved back over there. But he was living in the Seattle area for quite a while, and he is a very good ripper.
Nice. I don't. Like there was a big group of people that flew, like I was saying, a few, but basically before the pandemic. But it's kind of gotten a lot smaller since then.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what's his name. Rodney. For a really good freestyle pilot from around here. But
I'm not aware of him.
What's the name? Ramondi?
No, his name's Rodney. I forget his pilot name right now. But he has kind of gotten out of it. A lot of people go in and out,
Yeah, for sure. It can be the moment it starts to feel like a grind. That was super sick. Yeah. You kind of got to give yourself a bit of space.
Yeah.
Alright, I want to shout out some of the people that are rolling in the chat. I'm seeing 8-Bit, what's up, my friend? Place It Here, 33. The only kind of Dingles that's acceptable is Dingles himself. Skydoc,
Dingle,
Righteous, Remedy, our man Jinx, Mike Duran, what's up, Mike?
Hey,
Jumpman Mike.
Jumpman Mike, Winston. Ooh, there's
the creator of the prop popper, Winston.
Winston is the creator of the prop popper. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
He makes all of them too. Those things are
awesome.
ridiculously in demand. Every single time we get them, they sell out in 30 minutes.
So he makes them by himself?
Yeah. He makes all of them.
It definitely looks like an awesome tool.
Yeah. It's yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I just try to grip it as hard as I can between my two fingers and pull it off the shaft, and it's like an act of attrition. It hurts to do it.
Yeah, no, the little little fork thing. It's perfect. Oh, they were talking about that trick. We were like, that was sweet.
That is an awesome trick.
Like a power flip rewind, basically. Oh, that's ballsy though. I like it.
From the moon.
Yeah.
From the moon. Nice, the little retrieval mission here.
Oh, is this
Oh, that's awesome.
No way! Don't tell me that worked
Really?
like
Oh,
first
it's
go.
so-
The camera cage
That was brilliant.
is fine. Like, this is such a new way of doing a camera cage. Like, this is perfect. This is rock solid.
Oh.
This arm.
Oh, he's
broke off.
showcasing this
This
right
one
now.
He's showing it.
didn't break,
He's
even though it
showing
looked
it.
like it just popped out, so I can actually loosen this and then pop it back in. But ultimately,
Oh,
no
Mr.
frame is
Mr.
really
Vanover.
indestructible, but overall today, it didn't break up until
Letting people
a
peep
399
into the
drop
future
to
here.
the top of the building, so. And the camera cage survived. So.
All
guys,
right,
yeah,
awesome.
today?
Well, that's the newest. We were watching little excerpts out of the newest Rotor Ride video. Some really good freestyle flying. Peter FPV, who I believe is like officially a new Rotor Riot pilot.
Definitely, he is.
Yeah.
But
Dude.
yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know where you're at, this is the Supercritical Interactive FPV show live stream. My name is DadBodDadBod, and I'm joined by Danzy and
What up?
none other than iGals, the International Game of Whoops, Skittles. What's up, brother?
What's up? How you guys doing today?
Excellent.
Good.
Excellent.
All right.
Happy that you're here. I have plenty of conversation points, and I'm excited that you have had a chance to get on. But
Yeah, I got something to say.
Okay.
I got something to say about iGo. What the fuck, man? What the
It's
fuck
hard as
happened?
shit.
You get to like week 9, I'm like, oh man, this is easy. Oh, this is like so like this isn't bad at all. And then like I can't remember, it was like week 9 or 10, and then all of a sudden everything was cranked up to like 11.
I have grossly overestimated my whooping abilities.
Normally, the progression would take just like maybe another month and a half to get to that point where we do like this year I've been doing it where kind of the first 2 requirements would be what would kind of be the normal IGO around this time, and then the third one is like we need to step it up because this season, I don't know if you guys knew the overall format, but there's just 17 weeks in the regular season that
Right.
goes to playoffs, so we have to be down to 16 people by the 17th week, whereas normally it was just open-ended until like we play until there's 16 people left.
Oh, okay.
There definitely was a culling the herd. So we had a little private study group between Dan, myself, and Jinx. Just to, like we were experiencing it together, and there definitely was what I was calling a culling of the herd moment in the event. But so obviously we're very excited to talk about it. I think I love having firsthand experience. But we typically start off the show with Dan Z showing us some pilots that maybe we should be watching.
Yeah, just little gems, some gems that I've come across while having my little intake of freestyle FPV videos. Do you want to play the Berlin one?
Give me 1 second, and I'll get there.
And I forget the pilot's name.
It's under FPV Punks Berlin.
FPV Punks Berlin. This was just like, I liked the aesthetic of what was going on here. This is just like a total kind of like punk rock, really creative type of situation. Lots of, questionable flying.
It's just a simulator, bro.
It's just a simulator. But it's kind of cool. Like it caught my attention nonetheless.
You love the muted color.
I do like the muted colors.
Yeah.
Life's not that colorful, bro, okay? I'm trying to like get it to match the way I see the world.
Temper your
which is
expectations.
Dull, and the contrast isn't so high.
Bring your vibrancy down. What is going on up here? They're cool guys.
Cool guys.
The cool guys.
Bunch of cool guys.
Bunch of cool guys. This is cool.
Yeah, right?
Well, this is muted, but it's also allowing the certain colors to pop. So I don't know if this is just really great color. I wouldn't know. Is this just really great color grading? Because
it is. Yeah, it is a very specific grade to it.
Yes, but it's very consistent across everything. So I appreciate it for that. It's not just flat. There's certain pastels that are popping, which is very appealing.
I wonder what the rules are in Germany. Maybe you can fly over trains, nobody cares. Yeah, anything goes.
Anything goes. Oh, is he going in reverse right? What? I just saw, no, he's not, but there was a van reversing on the street. There he was. Yeah, he was over there.
Oh, I thought he was flying by the train tracks or something.
No, he was flying through that building. Pretty impressive. Okay, so that was FPV Berlin.
FPV Berlin.
Was that it? No, it was like FPV Punks Berlin.
Yeah.
FPV Punks Berlin. So if you haven't heard of FPV Punks Berlin, head over to his YouTube channel, give him a like, subscribe, all that stuff. All right.
I think what really stuck out to me, more so than the flying, was just the overall aesthetic and some of the creativity in the editing that was happening there. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was worth sharing.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Quick shout out to the chat. Righteous FPVs out there. Have we said hi to him? Danish
Right.
Danish Stallion.
Righteous is saying no more tweak. He said more tweaking coming soon. Okay, cool.
Danish is out there. I just want to do this again. I literally found that just for you, Danish. Goldfinger Operator, saw him yesterday. Blast is out there. GFO chasing motorcycles yesterday. That was a definite experience. Yeah. At 8-bits out there. All right, so who else should we be watching, DanZ?
Okay, the next guy is the guy that is really, I guess, ruffling feathers in the level of difficulty that he's introduced into iGao. And I just want to say, like, the iGao experience and seeing guys like Tyrant, Aviation, Callisto, like pilots like this that are really doing a lot in like the Whoop world, it's really different from 5-inch flying.
Yes.
And it's super technical, super precise, and very, very difficult.
Right,
let's watch a little Callisto here.
This is Callisto here. Gotta unpause it. Here we go. Let me dial it back.
What is that from?
That's ridiculous.
Star Trek. Actually, probably not. But Callisto is part of this group called Whoop Trek, where all of them really like Star Trek and whooping, so they made their own little crew, and they talk about Star Trek and whoops.
Star Trek and whoops.
It's like, it's Callisto, Fresh Bread, Borg Slayer. I think there's one more. Maybe Callisto in chat. I don't know. Maybe you can remind me who the last person is, but yeah, that's kind of funny. And they have little like split splash screens that say like Whoop Trek on their whoops.
Dude, the level of difficulty
he's amazing
that I'm seeing here is like insane. And here's the thing, like, it seems to me that while this video is edited, he is very, very consistent.
Yeah, he's pretty like.
Wow! Oh my god!
That's the trick that's up this week. That's called we've called it a Barani. Yeah. So it's like you start a power loop, then at the top, 180 inverted yaw spin, and then Matty flip back down through.
Dude, like, and the thing that people might not be realizing is that there's also this ceiling here. So to do it at such a height as well, like that ceiling can't be more than 10 feet.
Yeah, no, it's just a regular. So yeah, this invert, he's gone like. I wish he like played kind of, even though it makes my job way easier to have him like help me make up all the challenges and do the explanation videos. Because like I'm already to the point where I can't do the tricks either. Like in week 10, I got my first letter. Like this is the first year where I actually like tried all of them. Because normally I have to do the video for most all of them. That's also why it lasted longer. So there's more challenges that I could make up and show examples of. But like. A lot of these pilots are much better than me.
So,
yeah.
So Dan, that was the last of the kind of stuff.
That was the last. Yeah.
All right. So, we were definitely going to get to audience videos. The randomizer has selected, but before we do that, let's talk about iGao. And there's some people in the audience, and who watch who don't know what iGao is. So Skittles, can you give us the 30-second elevator pitch on what iGao is?
Yeah, so iGao is basically like a game of skate or horse, if you've ever played those games, basketball or skateboarding, except it's modified in a way where you can play with unlimited basically number of people and over the internet. So rather than everyone lining up and doing their tricks in order, I make up a challenge every week, and then everyone who's active in the game has to send in a video replicating it. And if you do it successfully, you pass the week, and if you fail, you get a letter. And this year we've switched it to iGao, so if you get 4 letters, IGOW, then you're knocked out. So we started with 1,707 players.
1,700 and what? 70?
1,707. 1,707.
Dang.
900 and something actually it submitted at least one video at a point. So a lot of people just registered. And then we're down to 142 right now, I believe.
Oh, dang. Okay. It really got cold down recently.
Oh, the herd. So, and before we start talking more about iGao, give us a 30-second who's Skittles? Tell us about you.
I started flying in 2015 when I got a DJI, what are those called? Not a Mavic, but the bigger one, Phantom. And I was taking pictures for like my business. We do Rail Pro, aluminum railings. So I was taking pictures of like projects we've done. And then as I was looking like on YouTube, like learning how to fly it and stuff, I came across a Rotor Riot video actually, where they had like overlaid Star Wars like on their quad like thing.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like flying upside down and under the bridge and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, how is this drone? Like, how is this happening? I was like, are they just rotating the video? And then I looked more and more into it. And then I like figured out what FPV was. And I was like, okay, that's the type of drone flying I need to be doing. And I got into whoops to start just because it was like a really easy barrier entry.
Same year, 2015?
And this was going to be early, like mid 2016 when I started there. And this was before brushless whoops existed. When I started, it was only brushed, and I built a little one, and I just flew around my house. If you look at my super old YouTube videos, you can see it there. But yeah. And then ever since then, I've just been more and more in the whoops, and it was kind of in like the beginning of the brushless whoop, like revolution, I guess you call it. Up here in Seattle, like we were all trying to like build a like good brushless swoop for a long time, and then Beta FPV kind of basically took one of my friend Mr. Shutterbug. Have you heard of him? Nate Payne.
Yeah.
His whoop 2S whoop design was the first Beta 75X, and that was like the first production brushless swoop. And ever since then, I've just been like trying to make better ones and flying them. And yeah, I've only recently got into flying 5-inch and bigger drones.
Okay.
Only recently, as in last year?
So this is the first year where I've actually had like good working 5-inches I paid more than like $100 for. I had one.
I love it.
I had one Banggood one, like just because I wanted to try it out, and it lasted like a little while before it just started desyncing, and I just kind of like gave up on it. And then I had like micros, that's actually what I started with because there was before, like I had whoops, and then I wanted to fly like something better than those like little 2-inch micros back in the day. And then whoops got good, so I just flew a whole bunch of whoops. And then this year I bought like a whole bunch of, I have 2 5-inch racers now that I've been flying, that I had Hyper build me on his own frame and stuff, so they're super nice. And then I also just built a Street League and flew that for the first time this weekend, and that's super fun.
Street League seems like my kind of racing. Like that kind of
really
open
fun.
spec 5-inch doesn't really catch me. I think it's because my skill level is so far below everybody else, but I feel like Street League and those types of things really level the playing field.
It really does, because those things like barely fly, so it's like all about like your line. Yeah, like it barely has enough power to like literally fly itself, so it's not really about how like fast you can go and react to things. It's more about how smooth and like how good of a line you can do. So it was super fun. We did seven of them up at once, like through the trees yesterday on Sunday. It was super fun.
What was the? You said 7 up at the same time.
Yeah.
What was the video system?
Video.
So it was a mix of HD0 and analog, and then we just had to do left, right, and it worked. It worked good enough. Nobody was really complaining, right?
That's insane. Yeah.
My video was great.
You were flying HD0.
Yeah.
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 Uptime just moved over to I just picked up HD0 for racing, so
yeah, I got sponsored by HD0, so like I can actually afford it now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I have it on all my stuff now. That's
Danish Stallion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
I was gonna say, after you fly like the 90 FPS HD0, it's really like hard to go back to like other things. You're just like, oh.
Danish Stallion was asking, which is the best color Skittle?
Was my favorite Skittle?
Yeah. Which color?
I mean, the red one is the only one that really tastes different. So I kind of like.
I love that you know that. I don't know that.
But to me, no, they do kind of taste all the same.
Yeah, but I mean, I personally like purple. Purple's my favorite color, so.
Nice.
Now I feel like I have to blind taste test Skittles to see if I can taste the difference in the red one.
It's funny because I'm not even really that big of a fan of Skittles. It just like happens to be my dog's name, and it was really yeah.
Now you have to fill out these questions about it.
I don't dislike them, but people always give me Skittles or like packs of Skittles, and I'm like, okay.
I have a question. So, Dan and I and Jinx, a super critical team, or rather, super critical crew, all have participated for the first time in iGal. But I'm curious, Dan or Skittles, what do you think the biggest misconceptions are about iGal that you see?
I don't know if it's a misconception, but it feels like when a lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't have time to do it," or something like that, where like they feel like there's a commitment you have to put into it, but really the idea is like you can play as much as you want or as little as you like. You can start and then you can just like quit whenever. Like you don't have to be, there's no requirement to keep playing. So I feel like that people feel like if they're gonna play at all, they need to, have to do it every week. Whereas you could just like, do a couple of challenges, like the ones that seem interesting to you, and then, not take it so seriously. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want to win,
that's
you gotta play
story.
every week.
And that's how it used to be for sure. Because if you got a letter early, it was really hard to overcome later, because if you went like into the before, it was just one continuous long game, right? And we started with however many people we started,
Right.
and then you just got challenge until we got down to one person basically. I stopped. There still used to be a finals period, like towards the end when the players actually start making up the challenges, but there's no like, if you started the playoffs or whatever we called the end when the players started making up the challenges, and if someone had a clean slate and you had like 2 letters, that was like a huge disadvantage, right? Going into the finals. Whereas this season, when the playoffs start, all the letters are wiped out. So if you make it in with IGO and someone else made in with a clean slate, like they don't really get any advantage over you in going into the playoffs, which is how most sports function. Like you'll get some better seeding probably, like because people are going to put into groups, but like ultimately it comes down to how you perform at the end, which is kind of how I wanted it to be, rather than being like it's a game of attrition, which it kind of has been for the last three seasons. Like you had to be super committed for it used to take like 30 weeks to get to the playoffs, and then the playoffs could have lasted like last year the playoffs lasted like 16 weeks or something like that, something ridiculous.
Wow.
Because Bri 5, Tyrant, and Akira were all like in there to the end, and they all went down to having 4 letters. So it like lasted like literally as long as it possibly could.
I gotta say the level of skill that is required to make it towards the end is very high.
Yes.
Is very high.
But see, the point of these challenges that I'm doing now that are like ridiculously hard is like, if I don't want everyone to like just pre-qualify ahead, because the way the game works, right? If you have to get 4 letters to get knocked out, and if there's only 17 weeks, basically, if you've made it to week 14 and you haven't lost yet, you've like given yourself a bye into the playoffs. You could technically just take a break until the end, right? And you couldn't accumulate enough letters to get knocked out. So the way I want to have it is where almost everyone's getting some letters, and then it's still going to be like a question who's going to make the top 16 by the end. And at this point, I would typically start doing challenges where it's like you have to do X number, you have like 30 seconds, and you have to do however many power loops you can do. And then, because then you can get a nice ranking of everyone, right? And then you can like make a cutoff point, and then everyone above and below pass. But I just don't, challenges like that are just not very exciting. I don't know. I'd rather see some like crazy combo. See if people can pull it off.
I really respect. So I'm a big fan of process. I can't help myself. And I'm a big fan of well-documented contests in FPV. And I have to tell you that I am so impressed by the level of polish on the format and the presentation of that. Because I think that I'm competitive most of the time. And that's really important to me. And it's something that, I feel is kind of lacking in FPV if we're talking about. And so being able to very clearly define, hey, this is the format and this is how we're doing it is really well done. So kudos there as a person who's just a fan of process. And I love that there's the spirit of, hey, we're trying to progress. And so I love the changes, and I think they're really appropriate. And I knew that at some point the hammer would drop because you had so many entrants at the front end. There had to be a point where and I knew that it was only going to be 16, 17 weeks to get to 16. And I was like, I think to what we were talking about earlier, it's like we kind of breezed through the first 8 weeks, not the preseason, but it was like, okay, yeah, all of this stuff is well within my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'm just going to be honest, like I think around like week 6, I was like, yeah, we can all definitely get into top 50, right? And I think that my observation is it's like, for me personally, who takes like kind of trick mastery kind of seriously, like, oh, if I see a movement, I want to make sure that I can do it and incorporate it. It's not so much. I think a lot of 5-inch flyers think, oh, if I just participated, I'd be able to get into it. But for me, it was like, I think that I can do all the challenges, but to do them within a week time frame to turn it around, right? Like unless you have the skill going in, especially as this season matures more, it's going to take you longer and longer periods of time to accomplish it. So if you are really skilled freestyling whoops, you know, I'm sure that there's probably a dozen people, maybe 24 people right now who are still breezing through, you know, who are like, oh yeah, got it. You know, whereas like I think it was like week 9. I was like, I just don't know if I have the time. I don't know. I would have to take time off work at this point. I didn't
week
take
9 was the last one where I like put in, like, I knew that if I tried hard enough, I'd be able to do it eventually, and then so I tried hard enough. Whereas in week 10, like I wasn't sure, and I kind of like just didn't try hard enough. But it would have taken I feel like it would have taken me so much effort, and I have like so many other things to do, like, you know.
Yeah. For those who didn't participate, what was week 9, for example?
So 9 was the ladder, the stack of 3 gates, right?
Yes.
And the hard part of the challenge was you had to do a Matty flip top to bottom, and then a split S top to bottom, and then
this was week 9 right here.
Here you go. Yeah, Matty flip. So this is there's 3 parts of all of them. So he did it all in one clip because it's aviation. So you had to do a regular ladder, just fly it like a regular ladder. That was part 1. So everyone could do one part, right? Then there's that move there where you go forward through. This is the part. The Matty flip, split S, into a power loop, into what we call a power switch, which is like a power loop stall, back into a Matty flip, and then a Vanny roll through the middle, which we've kind of just taken to be like a turnaround and roll, even though he kind of defines it as like where you're going real low to the ground and you spin backwards and roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, names in FPV is kind of a weird thing too. I don't know if you saw week 11, but I had everyone make up a new trick and name it. That's part of it.
Yeah. Week 10 is where I ran into trouble, because at the same time that this happened, like week 9, I was able to find the time to knock it out. And then week 10, a project started at work that required a lot of my time and attention. And it made week 10 a no-go for me. I did the first challenge easy. Second challenge, I kept messing up the 360 dive back in. Every time I'd do it, it would like take me out of the dive gate. And it was just really, really frustrating. And then I just kind of like ran out of time.
It feels like you should be able to do it when you watch someone like Callisto or Aviation or Tyrant do it too. You're like, oh yeah, you just kind of like pop up, you look down, you spin around, and you go back through, right? Like, how could that be? And then you try it, and it just like doesn't happen.
I appreciate, you know, and part of it too is like the specificity, right? And that it's like it's freestyle, but there's still. It's binary. Yeah. You've either done it or you haven't. And what I really appreciated, and what I really began to appreciate, was during the trippy spin challenge, how like, you know, we had to get to a point, like we were really trying to understand, hey, what's the requirement, right? And so even the requirement was like I could do trippy spins. I was able to do trippy spins, no problem. But to do it within the parameters of the requirement pushed me, someone who has that trick, just to like refine it, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's benefit there. So I think there's a lot of benefit in just participating. But I would say that if you really want to win, like you gotta like kind of get your skill level up so that when it's time to execute throughout the season, you have the ability to do so. Because otherwise, I think it just gets more and more challenging. And I'm so impressed. I am so blown away by the level of piloting that's being demonstrated. Because I know that, you know, the majority, most people are grown folks, adults, who have other responsibilities. So to be able to like execute really well is like that tells me that okay, that person had skills going in. So I really do believe that you are going to find the most talented Whoop pilot.
Yeah,
I really
and
do think that you're structured to do that.
it definitely, like almost every season, like it's been someone who did really well the season before. And that's like now, like the first season, obviously there wasn't anyone, but Daylight came in second place in the first season, and then he won the next season, right? Bride Five kind of came out of nowhere and won in season 3. But like Akira, who was really close in season 2, was in the top 3,
Mm-hmm.
and then Tyrant was in the top 3 last season too, and now he's like looking like the favorite to win this year. Him and Akira,
Nice.
for the last 3 seasons, have been like the 2 top pilots that can basically do everything. And it just
But
comes down to whether they can like best each other at the end is what it's kind of been.
I think what I really love too is that the format is fair enough so that if someone comes out of the woodwork,
Mhm.
they have every same chance to like, and that's what I love about competitions is that if you want to set yourself apart and you feel as though you have these skills to do so, there is a format for you to do that without, in FPV without having to do like the posting of the videos and working the social media. It's like, hey, if you just want to be known as a great pilot, like this is one really great place that you could do that. Like you could be a completely unknown, but if you're good on the sticks, this will allow you to really differentiate yourself, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I think that's really shown. Like a lot of the pilots who have done well in IGAO have picked up like a ton of small. Like I don't know if you know Aviation. You're showing his videos, obviously, but like his like when he started IGAO 2, he had whatever a couple hundred subscribers, and now he has 170 something thousand subs on his
Yeah.
YouTube channel. It's like
Yeah.
insane. He's like the second or third highest FPV subbed person in the world, like behind Steel and
I will say that
crazy.
IGAO has really opened my eyes to freestyle in the Whoop world. Like to me, Whoops were racing. Like that's all that was. And so I was never really diving into it. I just got my Mob 7 or whatever and raced that around and had fun. And I don't think the people who fly 5-inch primarily, most people I think are unaware of just how technical and good Whoop freestyle is and difficult.
Yeah, and like DadBod, I really appreciate what you were saying about how it's structured well because we've been on a bunch of freestyle competitions before at the different events. I've seen you at almost all of them, and most of them, no offense to the events and whatever, they're like pretty lackluster. It's kind of like you do your thing and then like whatever the judges are, they give you some score. Sometimes there's a rubric for like what the scoring is, but it's really just kind of like the opinion of whoever's there, and it kind of turns into like a popularity contest almost. Because like if someone like Steel shows up or whatever, like, and he just has like a decent run, like he's probably gonna win. So like, the West Coast Throwdown is the best one I think I've been to ever because they actually have like a pretty well thought out format, and they have the like bonus trick thing, and it's actually a feature of the event rather than just kind of like a thing on the side that some people do. It's like the main thing and everyone's there watching it, so it's like that's the only one thing event I've been to where there's a different level of pressure where like actually performing the tricks when it matters, when there's all the people watching, is like actually a hard thing to do, whereas most of the time it's just kind of like a chill laid back. There's not that much pressure, but when it's like something like that, like last year when Vanover actually pulled off like a basically perfect freestyle line, like when everyone was watching, when it really mattered, it was like pretty cool. I thought like this environment.
I agree with
run.
you. I agree with you. West Coast Throwdown, I think, is good of an event that we have so far. That doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement, but that one, if you're into 5-inch, it's a good event. However, Rampage,
Never been to that, so.
well, they just did their first in real life contest this year, That was really good.
Was it?
Again,
It was-
there's room for improvement.
Yeah,
But
the
I-
presentation needed improvement.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was like, and there's like a qualifier for it. But at the same time, what I feel is it is progressing in the right direction and I think that in real life competition is important to help growing, because I think that for freestyle to helping grow. So I think it's all moving in the right direction, but I think one of the biggest challenges is location for real events. Location is really challenging. We've thrown events here, and location is always challenging because weather is challenging. But when I became aware of Head's Mob Thick build, the V3, and the capabilities, and I started flying down, I was so blown away. And I was like, oh, wow, okay, this is viable. And that made me think of starting to think of iGal. I also started thinking about, well, how could we leverage this? But I really think the last hurdle is technical, because if we could have an HD whoop that is as capable as like a Mob Thick, then we can get rid of like the location challenges. And because like we have access to a skate park, we have access to a hotel that's being renovated, and if people can latch onto that, I think HD is really the last barrier of kind of participation from a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that's my theory.
Yeah. I mean, I think like FPV is going to go the way most like of the newer sports going to have, where racing kind of like gets in first, and that takes hold first because it's really obvious who's the best, who's the fastest. Whereas like the freestyle is a lot harder to quantify, and it's kind of like in the background for a while. But then almost every sport, like skateboarding, snowboarding, like that, like eventually the freestyle is the more popular and like mainstream thing.
Right.
So I think that'll happen eventually with FPV freestyle, but it also needs to have like some kind of structure. Like the tricks need to have like specific names, and like everyone needs to know what you're referring to, and they need to kind of like, you need to understand that this trick's more difficult than that trick, and like those type, like it's still like the Wild West right now, and people like don't even agree on what things are called. And so like I hope with iGal that's like part of the goal, to like turn it into something that's can be judged more.
Yeah, and I think it's going a long way, right? Because I think the structure is forming that. So for the audience, if you're curious, go to internationalgameofwhoop.com, and all of this is laid out, which I love because I love process. So it's all laid out. And then there is a Discord as well as the YouTube channel. And Skittles, what else am I missing? How do people find out more about you and more about iGal?
That's basically it. There's Facebook too. There's a Facebook thing, but everything that's on there is also on the Discord and on the webpage. So just subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that's probably the easiest way to keep up with everything.
And again, in the chat says Skittles, he made a great comment. I'm just seeing it now. iGal is the reason I can Matty flip, trippy spin, eject 360, half Matty. Learned all this on a whoop, translate to a 5-inch easily. And if that's not like the best praise for this kind of thing, like if you want to explore FPV freestyle, regardless of format, 5-inch whoop, whatever, like iGal's a great way to do that and expose yourself to it. It's kind of like big online class, and great community, really good community. So we appreciate it, and go to those things. But I'd love to transition to watching audience videos and giving you a chance to give some of these videos a critique. Sweet. So quick note on the scoring. We say it every show. For those who the randomizer picks out, and for everyone watching, use the Menti.com app. If you don't know what that is, it's the app that allows you, the audience, to score along with us. It's more important that we collect the audience scores so that the pilot who we're showcasing the video of just kind of understands what impact their freestyle flying is making in the video we're watching. So the more audience votes, the better. We're scoring the video, not the pilot. This is 2.5 minutes that we're going to watch. So that's why we always encourage you as the audience, hey, submit like something that you think is representative of your skill today, so that you feel like, hey, the feedback you're getting is actually something that you can action on or think about. But take it all with a grain of salt. Additional comments in chat are welcome. What's up, Carbon Cage? So if you're gonna chat and make a comment, we love the written stuff. Like that's even more impactful than the scoring. Just put a whole bunch of asterisks around it, like this, and then I can see it. And then if you submit a video in our Discord channel, I really heavily encourage you to score, not just because it's the right thing to do and you're being a giver, not just a taker, but also, if you're looking at other people's videos critically, right, and saying, hey, what can help this video improve? That is 100% going to help you when you look at your own stuff, because it's going to help develop your critical eye. So notes on scoring completed, and let's watch the first video and the randomizer.
What do we got first?
I like watching other people's videos to like pick out moves that I'm like, oh, I want to try to do that.
100%. Absolutely. Hell yeah. All right. So up first, Heim FPV.
Heim. Okay.
All right. Here we go. Oops, sorry, this is the wrong thing. I'm gonna go like that. Let me go like this. Let me go like this. This one's called New Playground, Little Canyon. Oh, Little Canyon.
It's a cute little canyon.
Yeah, tiny little canyon.
That's a cute little bridge.
Yeah. It's like a miniature world.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like they used it for a miniature to shoot like a movie.
That is a cool.
Ooh.
Oh, doink! Didn't stop him though.
World's most over-engineered basketball hoop.
That was nice.
Oh man, this is awesome. Flying in like brush like that.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't see that wall there. That's sweet.
Ping pong table. That's how you know this is overseas. The park has a ping pong table.
Now the question is, what's beyond my senses? Yes, I'm lucky. Yes, I'm alive, but I'm curious about what's coming after my last breath. Pyramids, temples, statues.
There's that wall over there. I hope he utilizes that. Oh, nice. A little TikTok up there.
Oh, I see. That's probably a soccer net as well.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Combo.
There we go. This has all been a one take so far, right? Oh no, there has been a cut. There's been cuts.
There's been a couple cuts.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up on the 2.5 minute mark. If you haven't already, please open the menti.com app, or you could go to menti.com, use code 6603-3512, and put in your scores. For those of you who've never scored using the supercritical format, pause this here. If you've never used the supercritical format, there's multiple categories, and it's simple. One is so a 3 is that category, their speed, for example, is benefiting the video. You're like, wow, I'm impressed. The video I'm watching, they're going just like the how fast they're flying is helping this video be awesome in my mind. If it's the other way around and you're like, hey, they feel like they're not going the appropriate speed for what I'm seeing and how they're flying, then you give it a 1 because there's room for improvement. If it's completely appropriate, give it a 2. That way, you're only comparing the video against itself for each of the categories. You don't have to compare it to any of the other videos. And we want your vote, regardless of how experienced you are. You might have been flying for 10 years. You may have created FPV freestyle. Definitely want your vote. But if you're on the other end and you just discovered this yesterday, your vote's also important too, because it's overall impression. And I think that, if you're interested in getting better, this will also help you kind of develop that critical eye. So far, the votes have said that intentionality and variety are great for this video. They're helping, but maybe areas of improvement in terms of difficulty, originality, production, that seems to be, they're all tied. Skittles, what do you think? Do you agree with the scoring so far? Or?
Yeah, I like that he used most of the different things in the area. And when he first flew over the little bridge, and I was like, you better go back to that bridge and go under it. You can't just tease us with the little tiny bridge in the ravine. And then he did. He went and split us and power looped it. So I was happy about that. Yeah, the speed felt good. I think the main thing, I know most of the videos are just people ripping around for fun, but when you're putting a video up to be judged, I like it to seem like you've thought out your line and you've maybe tried it once or twice and you got a real good one, a good version of it. So it doesn't feel totally like that here. It feels like we're just watching just some of his put together clips. But that would be my main criticism.
I totally agree, and I actually, for variety, I might actually kind of disagree with the score overall, because I feel like we were seeing a lot of returns, of just flying through the little canyon, which was awesome. Going back, trying the dive a bunch of times in between the back of the basketball hoop and shooting that gap and whatever, and it's what I would really like to see to up the level is okay, you shoot the gap, and then can you trick through the gap? And then can you top the trick through the gap?
That's interesting. Yeah, to see that stack within one video is a great way to
if you're gonna do different clips.
Use the same obstacle, but you have to keep on one-upping. That would be satisfying, right? If you saw progression in the video of
something Igao taught me.
There you go. I love that. All right. Yeah. So on the categories, it's a score of 2. That's the average of the, 6 different categories. So average of 2. And then we have the je ne sais quoi point. The voting is up for that. And the way that I like to describe this to folks is, would you watch this video again? Would you send the link to the video to a friend who's into FPV or not and say, hey, this is cool, check this out? If that's a yes, give it a yes. And, if it's no, all this does is it allows you to hit a total. We just add a 0.1 to the average score. So the highest possible score you can score is a 3.1.
Yeah, perfect 3.
We consider a perfect a 3. And something we haven't really talked about, if you do score perfect and there's more than, let's say, 6 people who have voted, right, on the categories, and you score 3 or higher, we send you out a t-shirt, right, just to say, and it's not a contest, it's just say, hey, good job for participating and for being awesome. And we want to encourage folks to go after the perfect score. So it looks like je ne sais quoi point is no this time. So your total score, Chaim, for this round of Super Critical is 2. Nice job, bud. Nice job. All right. So
who do we have next on the randomizer?
Up next, we have 8-bit FPV.
Hey-oh, we're going to get some whoop action, right?
Very possibly. I think he finds everything, though.
I could be wrong, but I believe any submission we've gotten from 8-bit has been Whoop related so far.
All right, nice.
Thanks for returning 8-bit.
It's not going. Hold on 1 second. This. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Why is it not working?
I think that's my bias. That's what I always do when I'm at a spot. I'll find a few tricks I want to do and then try to get them all together in one clip.
Line building.
That is a cool looking whoop.
We got a fractal 75 with a.
It's like a
pusher configuration.
Is that a Spezi build?
But he
No.
has it in the
has done this.
opposite.
8-Bit has done this to us before. He's basically just running a promo here. I ain't mad at it.
He always had a fancy. I like that the duck is on there too, just hanging out.
Sorry, I had the wrong.
Spezzy inspired. Okay, I was gonna say it looks similar to Spezzy, but it has different 3D print setup.
I'll play the advertisement.
Did you
Yeah,
hate
it's
it?
fine. I know Righteous was asking about getting a Whoop setup, and yeah, that the frame that's using is a Fractal Engineering, a Fractal 75,
But he has it turned sideways.
or upside down. Or,
No,
well, I mean,
it was literally sideways. Like
Yeah,
he-
because
Oh,
it's
it was?
normally
Yeah.
it's normally a little dead cat, and he had it like stretch X.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right.
I'm gonna skip
Well-
scoring on that one.
Unofficial promo.
We love it
There
though.
we go. You got
Um,
it in. You got it in, 8-Bit.
So
Nice work.
I do have a question for Skittles, just because we saw that. If you were participating in IGAO, well, I don't know if this is, you tell me if you can answer this or not. I know that, IGAO is very well sponsored, probably the best sponsored contest I've ever seen. I really think that the industry has come out to support your work, which is awesome. So you tell me if this is not something that you can answer, but if you were to be participating, right? If you see iGal season 4 and you're like, oh man, I want to get into it, and how do I start preparing now for season 5? And I don't have any equipment. What would you very quickly suggest for that person?
Any equip like a whole loop and a whole setup?
A whole setup.
Okay. I am sponsored by a lot of things, so it'll be some of my sponsors. But Radio Master, I think, makes the best radios. So if you want like a regular size radio, you get their like TX16. If you want something in between, the Boxer, or if you like gamepad things, the Zwirl, all of those are great. And then goggles, the HD0 goggles, obviously, can do everything you want, no matter what system you're going to use, unless you're going to do DJI, which I don't have a lot of experience with. But for whoops, that's not
It's not
where
the
you're going.
best.
So, and then for actual whoop,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, and you're going to be competing in IGA, you want to try to win, or you want to try to have more fun?
You want to win.
Then you're going to have to go analog right now still. The HD0 is just a little bit too heavy to do the super fancy, and you don't want to be breaking $100 VTX cam combos.
Right.
You want to break a $15 cam comp. Anyway, so I'd say I like 65 millimeter best, but I think
Interesting.
Oh.
just because I'm so used to it, and
Uh-huh.
all my best whoops are like 65 millimeters, and it's the smallest, so you can go through things. But it seems like the most popular ones are 75 millimeters. So you could buy like the Beta bind and fly or a Happy Model bind and fly and put it in a fractal, and you'd be super happy because the frame is only going to last you so long, the plastic frame.
Yeah.
But the problem, I don't want to get to it right now. There's just not a lot of good flight controllers in the Whoop world right now. They were at a point where they were okay, and now they've gone to the point where they like are trying to put so much stuff on them. I feel like they just ends up being one point of failure. And I don't know, Dan, did your flight controllers last you very long?
You know
seem
what?
like you fly pretty hard.
I've been flying the X12.
Okay,
right,
that's a
which
good
is
one.
what comes, and that has been holding up for me pretty well.
That's a
What's
12
been
amp, so
failing on me has been the motors.
really,
Like, like motors and then the frame. Even though like the Fractal is like a carbon frame, I was starting with whatever the thinner one was, which is like 1.5 maybe. That was starting to delam, and then my tiny whoop motors, I don't know what was happening with them exactly, but they were causing a bunch of trilling.
it's
And
probably the
that was just
shifts versus.
Yeah,
That's
it's just
what's
like
flipping
from
in the
a
bill.
bunch of crashing repeated over and over and over. Just like, I'm quite honestly, the amount
Yeah.
that I beat up that whoop before I finally had to change stuff out. And it wasn't even like that the stuff was broken, it was just not flying as good as I wanted to. Like, it took a lot to get there.
Yeah, I think that's like the realization is that and I learned that through the race season when I was starting to fly the Mob Thicks, that after the first race we did at the hotel, I was like, I stopped doing 5-inch because it's like it's such a grind. Like every hard crash, you're between heats, you're like on the bench. Whereas with whoops, like you're smacking at like full throttle, and then it's just like, oh, okay. Well, I just turtle out of that and fly back. The
Yeah.
amount of flying to repairing is such a different ratio.
Yeah.
And it's the same
Ratio's
for
way more favorable.
yeah, and same with freestyle. Like you could crash way more
Yeah.
on gnarly tricks and just kind of be like, all right, cool. I mean, it takes a lot. Like
As
that.
long as you're not going on to like cement or like something really like if you're crashing in grass or even on carpet, like you can just smack pretty hard and be okay.
Oh, I was smacking on cement and stuff a lot.
But
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
smack on cement with 5-inch, going
Yeah.
kind of do this, you're gonna mess up more faster, right? You'll
Yeah.
be having to repair. So thank you for the recommendations, Skittles, and it just proves
Yeah.
again that I have no reason why I couldn't get further in iGout. It's just my lack of skills. So because I have all the equipment. All right, up next, the randomizer has chosen Pixel Pusher.
Pixel Pusher. All
Golden,
right.
Golden Hour one-line FPV by Pixel Pusher. Oops. Is it going? Yeah. Nice.
I like the fact that he's just covered a wide swath of area here.
I always like that when the music has some type of drop, you do a trick on it.
Mm-hmm.
He did that too.
Eased us with the big obstacle, but didn't touch it yet.
Yeah.
There we go.
No, gotta go back.
Well, he hit it once. Let's see. Like,
Right.
I want him to go back and
Up
one
the
up
ante.
it.
Yeah. Now I'm hyper aware.
So there's one thing that I am kind of wishing for right now is just a little more like trick density.
Yeah.
I felt like it was opening up and it had this like exploratory vibe that was feeling very appropriate. But it's then kind of turned into just like a lot of really long, drawn out, like straight shots to then throttle blip up.
Yeah.
I would love to see you pushing some technicality to really keep the viewer interested in there. Like, I don't think you got to the dive gap main feature thing until like after a minute in.
Maybe a minute and a half.
a minute and a half, and like even so, there was so much possibility on that feature, and I would love to see you push yourself to do more on it.
And you may and Pixel Pusher, I know that we only watched the first 2.5 minutes, so that's what we do on the show. So maybe you do like those things in the last 2 minutes of the video, but I think that most attention spans are short, and there's a reason why we kind of, besides like wanting to get as many videos in as possible and see as much as we can from the audience, like 2.5 minutes is like, I think,
that's long.
Yeah, if you're not grabbing. If you're not grabbing like kind of early in, there is a little bit of a wandering attention. But from a tail of the tape, it looks like speed is the category that is really working for you, but difficulty is the category where the audience feels that you might be able to improve. Skittles, what do you think? You agree with that? Disagree?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like what level everyone's at, but if we're comparing to like, all FPV videos, most, like Dan was saying, it was a lot of flying across and then doing like a split S or a roll split S through the thing, and then all the way across the parking lot to another like move. You kind of want to combo things together, like you're saying, or at least do like a couple different tricks on the same, like put a power loop into the split S right afterwards on one of them or something like that, on the same obstacle.
Or find gaps, or give us some sort of variety and density to kind of keep the interest up. Not that like, the flying was bad, or, not to say that Pixel Pusher, like, because what I see here, like, what I see is a pilot that has very, like, they have a handle on their quad, and they have control, and they know how to put the quad where they want it. And I see that, but then I also see that like they probably have an ability that they're not yet showcasing in here. I feel like Pixel Pusher is capable of doing a lot more. And if this was just a flight that you had, that you were vibing on and felt really good about, then like, more power to you. But that internal feeling doesn't always translate to everyone else.
So,
and when you see something like that stack obstacle there, like you can imagine all like you gotta like hit it a little more than that. And maybe he does later, like you're saying, but like you want to be going through like the different levels of it, and they had like 2 segmented like halves. Like you could come up with so many different different things. Like he dove straight down it like really cleanly. Like I feel like he could have just put a few more moves in on that area, and it would have really stepped it up.
I would love it if Pixel Pusher went back to this spot and showed me like a bunch more, like threw everything he had at it. I don't care if it's a 1-pack. Like fuck the 1-pack. Do an edit, but just like challenge yourself to do as many different tricks on it.
Yeah.
So on the categories, the average score is 1.5, and Genetic Quad Point is up. I'm looking at the comments, and Righteous FPV says, yes, the opening had me bricked up, but then the kind of blue-balled me. 8-Bit says, 8-Bit had a question for you, Skittles. I don't know if he meant to call you Slittles, but he called you Slittles. He said, and this was on when beta FPV coming out with some new 75mm ducks like the 75mm Pro design. Sorry, nothing to do with this video, but that's what 8-Bit wants to know.
When?
Yeah, when beta FPV coming out with some new 75mm ducks like the 75mm Pro design.
I'm not sure what he means, because 75mm Pro is beta FPV.
Yeah, so I don't know. Is that a new frame or something?
They do have the 75 Pro. I hate how they do their naming. It's the worst. The 75mm is Meteor 75 is the regular 75mm, and then Meteor 75 Pro is the 75 millimeter that's actually like 81 millimeters, and it has 45 millimeter ducts.
That's
Or
funny.
sorry, ducts that are big enough to take 45 millimeter props, whereas this regular 75 is 40 millimeter props. To get slightly bigger props.
The next thing they're going to name it is a 75 millimeter Pro, which is actually 92 millimeter ducts.
Yeah, it makes it so confusing.
Or the Pro, like the Pro V2, and then the Pro 2.
Yeah,
And then the
they
V2
already
Pro V2.
because they still have their older version, which is just like the beta whatever Pro, like that doesn't have the meteor attached to it also. So then it has the same naming scheme where there's like a beta and then there's a beta pro, so it's like it's way too confusing. They need to just like have unique names for everything.
So that's our critique of beta FPV naming conventions.
Better
Better
do
at
something fun. Make up some fun. Like remember when Ishii named their Whoop a trash can? That was great.
Yeah, totally.
Intentionality on the beta FPV score is 1. Needs. All right, Righteous FPV says to this video, 6-spot need to address odd camera movements. He's on his way. Go back and break some stuff, Pixel. And what's up, Doom Rider? Doom. All right. So no.
I do love that when you show like you're trying the tricks and then you get some good ones and then you show it where you push it to the point and then you end up crashing.
Yeah.
The progression videos. I love those too.
Yeah.
1.5, no Genesis Quest. So 1.5 is your score this round, Pixel. Nice job. We look forward to seeing the progress. All right. Up next, the randomizer has chosen Spagoos, FPV Spagoos. Get that loaded for us. And if you guys have any questions for Skittles, use the asterisks in the chat, and I will do my best to.
I will say, kind of related to this video, but Franco and I went out and flew yesterday.
Yeah.
And we did. Okay, I'll do a screen share situation for this. But we did. We went out and flew, and we got to a spot where we were flying this like really dense tree gap, and we were just chasing each other, and it was very fun, and the feeling of it was very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is gonna make for some great like stuff. I'm gonna post like something on Instagram from it, whatever. And then I went back and watched it, and that feeling was just not there at all anymore. Okay.
I want to see the back of my quad.
Sometimes I'll show you the video.
Sometimes
I'll show you the video.
But I I'm kind of at the point where, and it's because we haven't forgot about you. We're just getting a screen share set up. But
yeah, Sony doesn't want us to watch it anywhere except YouTube.
I'm just kind of like, sometimes it's just fun just to do things because it's fun, So don't forget that, folks. I mean, we're all chasing me better, but that's cool too. Just doing it because it's fun with your friends.
All right, Spagoos. Spagoos. Ooh, I like the speed here.
Yeah, that's right. This cut goes out to all y'all.
Low cruising. I'm a fan.
One love, yo. Yeah, that's right. He's got game. PE 1998. If man is the father, the sun is the center of the earth, in the middle of the universe, then why is this verse coming 6 times rehearsed? Don't freestyle much, but I write them like such. Word. Amongst the fiends controlled by the screens, what does it all mean? All this shit I'm seeing. Human beings screaming vocal javelins, sign of a local nigga unraveling. My wandering got my ass wondering where Christ is in all this crisis. Hating Satan never knew what nice is. Check the papers, well I bet on ISIS. More than your eye can see and ears can hear. Year by year all the sense disappears. Nonsense perseveres, prayers laced with fear. Beware, 2 triple O. It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but damn the game.
Yeah, get into that building. I see some pillars over there.
Where's the game in life? Behind the game, I got game, she got game, we got game.
Ooh, there's that big gap in that tree there.
Feel good, it might sound a little something, but fuck the game if it ain't saying nothing. Damn, was it something I said? Pretend you don't see, so you turn your head.
Race scared of his shadow, doesn't matter. Thought of reparations, got him playing with the population.
I like that little juke maneuver there.
Even murders excuse. White men in suits don't have to jump. Still 1,001 ways to lose with the shoes.
Feel like we're kind of coming up on time, so if you're getting a sense of this video, go ahead and hit the menti.com.
Yeah, we got another 30 seconds or so.
1 out of 1 million residents. Be a dissident.
Oh.
There was a save there. There was a save.
Oh, he could have Maddied out of that.
I thought that's what
really
I thought that's what we were going for.
Came out too high.
It might feel good, it might sound a little something, but damn the game if it don't mean nothing. What is game? Who got game? Where's the game in life? Behind the game, behind the game. I got game, she got game, we got game, they got game, he got game. It might feel good, it might sound a little something.
This is the spot that wrote around, right? It's fine.
No, it looks like it's
Oh, he said,
right.
is this the spot?
Alright, that's the
Austin's
2:30
singer.
mark.
So
Okay.
what's up,
I
Austin?
did like this song. I agree.
The song was great. The opening was really satisfying. I thought that was a really interesting way to open up a freestyle edit. And then I do feel like we kind of ran into a somewhat repetitive situation there. And there was a lot of like, I don't think until really in the last 30 seconds or so, you got to that building. There were a bunch of gaps in those trees that I saw that were begging to be hit. I think there were some missed opportunities there.
The
I agree with that. I agree with that.
category scores. Audience says speed and production quality video, areas of strength.
Yeah.
But difficulty and variety. I think kind of echoing what Dan said, difficulty and variety are areas where perhaps you may want to look at those next time you're out flying if you're interested in improving kind of your presentation in the video format. But Skittles, what do you think?
It definitely, looked good. Sorry, not to interrupt. It definitely looked good. The
Yeah.
song was a great song choice. Like I was vibing with it. I don't know what track that is. But
I agree with I feel like you don't, unless you're doing a trick in like a different location that makes it unique, you don't want to do like a bunch of the same tricks. I feel like you did a lot of like kind of rolls and low yaw spins, and when the first time I saw it, I was like, all right, that was nice. But then you like the same move over and over again. If you don't like up the ante in some way, putting it into a different spot or in a combo with different moves or something, it feels just like I've seen that. I saw you do that. Like, you know what I mean?
And there were a couple, like there was that one moment where I saw like a really cool kind of juke maneuver, and he was doing some really great low to the ground yaw spins that just, they felt really dynamic and really cool because one, he was low to the ground, and two, he had all those trees around him. But like the instance of like that happening between the next really standout thing that happened, it was just too long of a gap in between, I believe.
So, Genesequa Point voting is up, and looking at the comments. So, Austin Inspired, what up? He says, good rip, but if I'm being 100, there's a way too many similar clips or clips that don't need to be in there in general. Quality, not quantity, is key.
Yeah, 100%.
Dana
If you're
Stallion
gonna
says,
have cuts in it, you might as well put your best stuff up there.
Yeah.
right, condense.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of short. You know,
and that video was
short, impactful.
4+ minutes long too. We didn't even get through all of it.
Dana Stallion says, good vibe. And
Great vibe.
Righteous
Or
Or at
FPV
least
says,
put your bangers up front so you hook people in, or maybe not right up front, but like
I forget what the formula was, but someone had like a really good formula for like banger up front, then a little bit of a longer line, then super banger. There was like they had like figured out like the formula to catch their specific attention. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Big banger up front, a little bit of a longer line to set up a mood, then a super banger, and then you got me hooked. Like now I'm like, oh my god, like the rhythm. There's a rhythm that draws people in. So Righteous FPV says the vibe is def on point, kind of mellow ripping for Spagoose, if I'm being honest. Swift Duck has, I think, a counter opinion, which is that was his intention with that vid, which is kind of a vibe, right? And then Flyzone says thanks for sponsoring the event. Flyzone, our pleasure. Big guy Jinx,
Jinx deserves all the credit on that one.
He called it to our attention. He wanted to sponsor it. Of course, we're supportive of anything Jinx wants to do. So, but we're happy that to have contributed in any way, at least with like the super critical. So
Jinx,
good job.
The biggest mensch in FPV for sure.
I love that title for Jinx. The biggest mensch in FPV.
The biggest mensch in FPV.
The biggest mensch. All right. So, what was the score on the last page for Spagoose? 2.2. No je ne sais quoi. So your score is 2.2 for this round of super critical. Nice job, Spagoose. We appreciate you, brother.
Going on Swift Duck's point, being like, hey, that was the intention of his video. I totally understand that. It can be difficult. We're in an age where you really want to try to capture people's attention, and if you want to capture somebody with that intention, they also have to be in the right mood for it, which I think is kind of a harder thing to achieve. I'm not saying that Spagoose is, in any way, shape, or form shouldn't have put out the video. But it just kind of like from where I'm standing, that's kind of how I was feeling.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like we're three guys who are on the live stream who have our own opinions, but I think at the other side, and I really appreciate you, Swift Duck, for like putting that comment in there for Spagoo's sake, is like this could definitely appeal to other pilots, right? So it's the feedback here is all about quantity and you getting just people looking at your video critically and sharing their thoughts on it. So take what you will, what's valuable to you, and discard all the rest to make sure you're having fun all the way through. So up next, Average FPV. Specialicious 75 Pro first packs.
I always look forward to Average because I'm wanting I love his music choice.
Average is like, if you don't know, he's put the most iGout videos in of anyone.
Oh, really?
He's been in iGout since iGout 1, and he's made it almost to the end every season.
Look at him.
So,
Just
his very first video in regular iGout, was like one of my favorite videos. That
is quite the title to have. The most videos submitted to iGout.
Oh yeah, probably by a lot.
This is a spicy spot right here. He's in France, right?
Switzerland.
I'm such an asshole because
Average
has explained this to me every time. I'm like, Average is in what place? I get it wrong.
All I know is that this is doing a ton for my curiosity as to what this build was. Again.
So he said it's a walk snail. He flies walk snail, and the Spezzy thing is a pusher.
You made it lower. That's great.
So
it's a pusher.
It's 75 Pro, so that's probably the bigger ducks with 45mm props. That's what he flies. That's what he's been flying in iGout this season.
Dude,
this is a very capable claw.
Yeah.
This spot is nuts. I mean, I know he's flying a whoop here. I would love to fly 5-inch here.
Nice little wall ride.
That was nice. Alright, we got about 30 seconds left. So, My thing with average is kind of I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit here, and my thing with average is that he's super capable. He flies. Oh, it's really adorable. Little daddy-daughter time, possibly.
Yeah.
He's super capable. I wish that I was like, we've seen so many of his videos. I have kind of an understanding of his skill level. And I feel like he's capable of a lot more, and he's not necessarily showcasing it here. But maybe this was just one of those, he's getting out with the kiddo, and he's flying and enjoying himself.
Doesn't want to break anything.
Doesn't want to break anything. And that's all right. But, man, I would love to see an instance of average, like, really pushing himself and creatively coming up with some new lines and surprising me a bit. I want to be surprised a bit more.
Feel you.
Tail of the tape. Production quality videos of 2.8 right now. It looks like the area of the category where there may be some room for improvement, average, is the difficulty category, and I think that's kind of echoing what Dan says. So the audience may be in agreement. Also, maybe a little bit of that originality, like how, in the way that I think of originality is, does this feel like it's setting itself apart? It's really hard to be original, right? There's so much FPV freestyle content out there, but like, is it being differentiated? Skittles, you in agreement with kind of what the audience is saying, or
yeah. Austin pointed out it was the maiden, so he was chilling a little bit.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm gonna put up. So we're at 2.3 on the categories. Genesis Quad Point is up, and Danish Stallion says average inspired me to start freestyling Cinewhoops last year. Now it is my second favorite thing to do. Been pushing it hard last couple of months instead of 5. That's Danish Stallion. And that audio effect is for you, Danish Stallion, specifically. Love you, Danish. Let me see here. Lots of 8-bit FPV says beautiful maiden. So nice job there, average. 2.2. I was going to say, but 2.2 is your score on this round of Super Critical. Great score. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that quad, and I happen to have a pair of goggles.
I mean, knowing that that's a walk snail build.
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Like, now thinking about, I was separating myself from thinking about the technical aspect of it. I was just thinking about the freestyle. But yeah, that seemed fairly capable for a heavier build.
It's a whoop pusher, and I didn't see a lot of like difficulty. There was a little bit of just no need to dissect it. I'm kind of curious. All right. Yeah. So actually it's a yes for Genesis Quad. So you're at a 2.3. Nice job, average.
Solid.
Very solid. Let me see here.
Dude, I feel like I say this every time. I love his music selection. I feel like if I were at a party with him and I would be like, dude, just take control of the playlist.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to pick well.
He always puts a good solid effort into his editing too. It's never just he always has some little things in there. The music lines up with whatever the start of the line, or the color goes in and out on the music cues and trick cues and stuff like that. That type of stuff for me makes the iGow videos really stand out, because everyone's literally doing the same thing in the video. So
commented on that, bro.
I've actually always wondered that, especially towards the beginning, when you're just seeing. Oh my gosh, I remember those first couple weeks. You had 3 days in a row of doing 8 to 10 hour, 12-hour live streams.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's crazy.
So many people did the tree the first week. I made the joke in the video, oh, you're just orbiting the tree in the front yard. I don't think a lot of people picked up the idea was you're not supposed to do.
I got it. I know for my videos when they were definitely a little bit easier, I was like, okay, how can I make the video a little more interesting so that it sticks out while during the live stream? But yeah, man, kudos to you for.
Yeah,
we did
that is
one.
an effort. Oh god,
We did one live stream that lasted like 6 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. I can't remember.
I
But
think
it was
5 or 6. Yeah, I don't remember.
It was so hard.
It was traumatic.
I remember about 2 hours in, like starting to side chat people being like, "How do we get out of this?"
Yeah, how do we make this end? Like, it's, you know, through no fault of our own. I was like, oh my god, what have we done to ourselves? Never again.
But like, you know, once you break through, it's like running a marathon, right? Once you break through the wall, you just keep going, and it was all good.
Yeah.
It was actually a really great live stream.
Sure, if that's what your memory's telling you.
It was.
It's
It
kind
was
of
one
like
of our-
it's like your genes are predisposed as like women who give birth. They like, you know, they're like, it's in their DNA. Like it makes them their memory fuzzy, so that it makes them want to do it more, but it's not really. I think that's what's happening. Your brain is giving you birth signals.
It is one of our most watched live streams, and there were people that stuck through the whole
There sure were.
thing.
There was also people who were like coming back. They're like, "You're still here." It was like, yeah, you're still here. But yeah, kudos to you, Skittles, because you do that like every week. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, that's the part I actually enjoy. Like making, like I don't mind making the video stuff, but that's like more pressure and like effort and like editing and
there's a lot of production into those.
Whereas the live stream, you just kind of like show up and watch the videos.
I love it.
It's kind of fun. So
I do remember saying Skittles loves watching FPV videos exponentially more than I ever have. So you know, like I could see the passion. I know that it takes that. All right, so PG FPV has been. Oh, and someone made a really nice comment. Before we get to it, where was it?
Righteous wanted to know what
I
I'm
do watch
sipping
this
on
a lot.
tonight.
I do just watch a lot of like videos anyway.
Greenhorn
Righteous.
Greenhorn
I'm
FPV
sipping on-
said, sorry, Greenhorn FPV said, if it wasn't for Skittles, I wouldn't have known about this channel. New sub unlocked. Welcome, Greenhorn FPV.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know.
Thank you very much.
What are you
Righteous
sipping on?
was asking about what I was sipping on. This is Jefferson bourbon. This is, remember at West Coast last year, I brought the Jefferson's Ocean. So this is just like another one of their whiskeys. I'm a whiskey guy. I like bourbons and ryes. Not so much a scotch.
The scotch is not challenging for me. All right. PG FPV. The randomizer has chosen you. This one's called Lipo Dump.
Is this 5-inch?
Looks like it, or maybe it could be a smaller.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a 5-inch.
Oh, yeah, shadow.
So I'm immediately kind of impressed. All that stuff you just flew through is actually really difficult, especially on a 5-inch.
Yeah, that's a lot of throttle control. Especially coming right down off the loop through it again.
You actually have a fantastic cluster of obstacles to fly in front of your house.
Oh, nice. This is PG's first time being on the show.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. I'm kind of getting a who is this guy vibe? How come I don't know about him? Like, there's a lot of control being demonstrated here.
Right?
Yeah.
Quad dial too.
Well,
It looks a little stabilized.
it's a bit stabilized, yeah.
Yeah. Looks like a GoPro session on top. From the shadow.
There's a couple moments, yeah, where I can kind of see the stabilization kicking in.
Yeah, you can see the the way I kind of noticed it the most is the field of view changes a little bit.
Yeah.
Gets bigger or smaller.
But
You can just kind of feel it. Oh,
Okay.
see, yeah, it gets tapped there and it's stabilized.
that was the first time his like flow was kind of interrupted.
Yeah.
All right, that's 2.5 minutes.
Okay, nice.
Votes are coming in. Someone gave it 3s across the board before we even showed it, so big believers in what we didn't even say it was PG, so I don't think it was even PG. It was just someone was like, the next one is gonna be perfect, and I hope it was for you, whoever did that. So rock on. It looks like areas of so intentionality looks good. So the audience is saying intentionality is an area of strength. Speed and originality are the areas of possible improvement, but scores are still pretty high. Skittles, what do you think? Speed, originality, is that where the PG should be looking, or do you have other opinion?
I thought the speed was good for his the flow he was doing. It was more of a controlled thing than a real super fast doing tricks. But so I thought that was fine for his video. The intentionality I thought was really good. It seemed like all the things were linked together. He did the tricks through the different parts, and not the loop was perfect. It was just big enough to get over the cars, right? It wasn't like a
Yeah,
real
at the very
big
beginning
loop.
is a good loop.
Yeah,
Yes.
things like that. He wasn't all his tricks were just right for whatever obstacle he was doing it on. So I really like that one.
That was one of the things that I'm glad you said that, because that really stood out to me too, was the fact that he wasn't doing totally blown out power loops over things. It was all really controlled, and a lot of those gaps were super tight and super small, and I think even though it was stabilized, I don't think he really tapped that many times. There was the one time where it was an obvious tap, but he was hitting it pretty good.
Yeah,
It's
and
hard to fly through low gaps like that.
Yeah,
And that loop happened early. So, if I'm just thinking, how do I take the feedback that we're hearing on this? I think, okay, well, yeah, we're seeing something really impressive early on, which is making the audience kind of wake up a little bit. And then if you continue and so maybe this follows the banger at the front. If the banger is that really nice, clean, tight power loop, followed by a longer line, and then going into a super bang. I don't know if there's a super bang, but we could see how having something at the front end can really draw someone in, and if you follow it up with some quality, you're gonna reel them in even further. So
That was all one take, if I'm not mistaken.
it was, yes.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just one.
I would like to see. I'm just curious, because I see a lot of comments in the chat about that looking like it's potentially gyroflow and whatever. I would be curious to see what it looks like without stabilization. But even with the stabilization, I'm picking up on the control that you needed to hit all those gaps.
Correct.
And I think that was actually pretty impressive. So kudos, man. I think that's a great first entry for Super Critical.
Great.
If there was a room for improvement, it's dude, let's start leveling up the technicality on some of those things. leveling up the speed. Like if you were to like say like, okay, I want to keep my flight style the same and just like really start hitting all these gaps the way I've been doing, then I would say upping your speed is like the next place to focus on in order to make the impressiveness of it start to grow exponentially.
And if what Dan said, Dan was like upping the technicality. If that's something, if anyone in the audience is like, well, what does that mean? I think one way to up your technicality is as you break down. Like this was one kind of like a one pack kind of thing. So not necessarily here, but if you decide to, hey, I'm going to set up 3 tricks, 3 different obstacles. And maybe it's like maybe the fundamental for the first obstacle is a split S, maybe the second fundamental or the second obstacle is a power loop. To increase your technicality, what you would want to say is, okay, I'm going to do this same split S movement, but I need to add an additional component to that. So maybe it's a drill roll, then into split S through the dive. Maybe the power loop is not just a plain power loop, but it's incorporating a backflip underneath the gap, right? So you're going to add additional components of challenge to each of the things. So that's how you would create more technical lines where you're starting to push that side, if that's something that you choose to do. But I think we've just given 2 great examples of, okay, how do you push in either direction you want to go? If it's this style where you're flowing through, hitting gaps, increase speed. If you want to increase your technical abilities, then you're going to have to like break out each of your movements and start adding more technical challenge to each. So that's some suggestion on how to take our feedback. 2.3 on categories. Je ne sais quoi point is up. Danish Stallion says, my first year and a half, I made all the video mistakes. 8-bit, the pilot was PG _FPV. PG P.G _FPV. Swift Duck says definitely gyroflow. Dana Stein says don't think that was hyper smooth. Looked really odd, zoomed in like a run cam. Austin is calling someone a liar. I don't know who that is.
Nice.
Dana Stein says really cool flight, but if you're using gyroflow, I would reduce the smoothness. Your proxy is fucking fire. Well done on the flying.
Yeah, that again, the proxy really stood out to me. Good shit, PG.
Yeah,
I think that was a great entry. It definitely caught my attention.
So 2.4 with the Je ne sais quoi is your total score for this round of Super Critical. Nice job, PG. Looking forward to seeing more. All right, up next, the Danish Stallion has been chosen by the randomizer. Okay, here we go. Okay, this was called 13 Oaks Samurai After Work.
Is this his like usual like yeah, okay, where the semis park.
Ooh.
That's knowing your spot.
Yeah.
Oh, there's that Florida vine shit hanging out that trippy.
Moss or
yeah, that
they call
moss. I don't know. Stuff sucks. Nice. Get it.
This is a very different music selection for Danish too.
Oh, I was hoping there was a hole there somewhere.
So there was one thing that I saw in there that I'm just going to like comment on as like in the Brotherhood of Suffering. the revert, like making a really clean, snappy reverse is
Nice.
one of my biggest struggles in FPV. Like a rewind situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
Some
saw
people
there
can do
was
that
like
so good.
you like jump you like rolled over a branch and then you like caught yourself and then rolled back over the other way.
Mhm.
And there are some people that just do it so clean. Like it's just like the cleanest stop and then
Yeah.
instant fling over. And
One of the-
this
one
is
of-
something I cannot figure out for the life of me. I have a suspicion that it's got to do a lot with my camera angle as well. Because I feel like people with lower camera angles might have an easier time doing it, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not calling it out. I'm calling it out just to say that I identify with it. I'm not dinging it.
Yeah, the people that can do super clean rewinds, like I love like when it looks like it's a literal rewind. It looks so cool.
I maybe I think I'm remembering this correctly. The last video that we saw from Danish, I made that very similar comment of like the nose bobble a little bit on the rewinds, and I think I remembered saying that. Danish, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it being better in this video.
The first
Like-
the first video with the creek, that guy had some pretty solid rewinds. They were a little smaller motions, not like a big flip over tree, but they felt real like when you actually like rewind the motion. Yeah. My favorite, I don't know if you guys have ever seen him, but All Plume.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Dude, his rewinds.
Yeah, I guess that just
are
throws
next
my
level.
Because he's at 45.
that throws my argument out the window because
Yeah.
he flies 45 degrees and
Yeah.
his rewinds are just on point.
I
Yeah,
believe
they're
the
amazing.
secret, not the secret, but I think that it is
I think it's throttle.
throttle, banging your throttle high on the stop to get yourself
Yeah.
a hard stop, and then not letting your nose wiggle. The nose wiggle destroys the illusion of the rewind, so it has to be a hard stop. And I think it's hard throttle, which then you push back into the same angle. But I don't know. Like I would love it. Whoever has fantastic, if All Plume can come on the show and let us know.
I call them ox plumes for like half of my go too.
I was calling them ox plumes in my mind when we were talking on right now. All right, difficulty is a 3, right? So definitely helping. Production quality of video is the area of it's still dead. It's at a 2.2, so it's not hurting your video. But if we're looking to step up the overall presentation, right? The audience is saying production quality of video. Skittles, do you agree with all that?
Yeah, I mean that one was I think the best one we watched so far. It's definitely like trick density wise and impressiveness of all the different tricks. The dives through the trees like really just showed that like he's dove those gaps before he knows
Dude,
where you have to go.
not only was it a dive in the
It was like a
tree, but it
twist.
was like it was a twist through.
Yeah,
Love
because it
it.
was blind
That
coming
was
in. It
really
didn't look
good.
like there was a hole there, and he knew that there was.
So
That was really good.
Genesis Quad Point is up, so go vote on that for Danish Stallion. And then looking at some... Oh, Austin Inspired was saying that the pre-voter was the liar.
Oh,
I
okay.
get it. Spanish Moss, Righteous FPVs confirming Spanish Moss. Yeah, Swift Duck says, yeah, rewinds are big on throttle control. Swift Duck would know. We've seen some good rewind motion from Swift Duck. Righteous FPV says, gorgeous flight, Danish. And Danish is saying that was an ND filter on 03. So Genesis Quaza, yes. So what are we at? 2.7. A 2.7 score.
See, Austin Inspired makes a comment. Non-pilots are going to prefer stabilized video, but you will progress 2 times as fast as unstabilized, in my opinion, is what he says. Now, the person I always go back to is Slat. Slat unapologetically flies hyper smooth.
Mm.
And Slat rips. He is really, really flowy and fast and really, really good. Like, I don't know if it translates necessarily, but if you've ever had the ability to fly the same spot that Slat has flown, it really makes you realize the difference in level of skill that is there. And so I'm like kind of two minds of this. Like I think overall, and I've said this before, is that like it's on the pilot to make an entertaining flight, stabilized or not. So like if the content is there, if the flight is entertaining, it does not matter if it's stabilized or not. But then on like in the opposite world, it's like, yeah, I also understand that like if you watch a Vanover video and you see how smooth he's flying without any stabilization, that is a whole level of impressiveness as well.
That's I think that's the goal, right? Like if you don't need, if you're so in my mind, if you're so good that you don't need stabilization, like Vanover, like I'll be honest, Vanover has videos out that look like they're stable, hasn't stabilized them. Like that's impressive skill. Like I think, wow, those are blessed fingers, and he knows how to put together lines, and he's just in the flow. Like it's amazing, right? And I think that I aspire to be that. I'm not that now, but I think to Austin's point, right? Yes, I think there's broader mass appeal to using stabilization. Like it makes your footage just appeal to a broader audience. I also believe what Austin said, that if you turn it off, right, you'll get better. And the reason I think that is because you're going to be looking at your footage for what it is. Like right. You'll know, has your coordination on your fingers gotten better, right? But I think that if you want to have both, right, like there's a lot of options for you to capture without stabilization on now. Like gyroflow is a good option. So if you could find a way, like if you're like, hey, I want my stuff to be appealing to a broad audience when I present it, you have the option to use post stabilization. But I think the spirit of what Austin is saying is look at your stuff unstabilized. Like find a way, right? You can look at your DVR. You can look at, unstabilized HD footage. And then when it's time to like use it, like you can do those things. So there's options for you, but yeah, I do believe that, and Austin's a great example. Like Austin turned off stabilization and he was always looking at his stuff for what it is. So just food for thought there. All right. Speaking of Austin Spards next.
Okay. Wait, what was Danish's final score?
2.7. He got the 2.7.
Oh my gosh. It must be heating up in Florida because that was fire! Danish stallion contributing to global warming over there. Okay, I'm pretty sure there was a bunch of fish in the Gulf that just turned up dead because the water temperature has risen.
Austin's fired up next.
I'm reaching for that one.
Here we go. And all right, this
feels like it was 116 today. Well, that was because of you, Danish. So you only got yourself to blame. He says Austin Inspired says go to 110.
Okay, good thing we caught that. Let me go to expand this video. Okay, go to 110, and there we go. There we go.
Oh, this is the new bando that he found.
The new old bando.
There's this is close to his place.
Is this higher frames per second than 30?
Ah, man, this is kind of hard to tell right now because of the way I'm viewing it.
Police department, the new sheriff. We need to talk to you about where you were at midnight. Would you care to share? I'm sorry to bother you. It's awfully rude. We just want to talk to you. Did you happen to watch the news? The divorced dad killer's back.
I was confused about which way was up there for a second.
Lost both socks and shoes. Somebody saw the dude and said he looked like a methed out prostitute. Sorry, y'all, not the guy. Can't talk right now, not tonight. Good luck solving crime, but I swear to you, nobody's tied up, locked inside of my 13 bathroom, 10 bed mansion, backyard with a 2-shed expansion. Half Ted Bundy, half Ted dancing.
Cool outside. Nice.
It's hard to explain, even to a Princeton, Harvard brain. Either end up in the Hall of Fame or down in the ball of flames. Can't pick up the phone. All of this shit that I'm on. Already sick of this song. Can't pick up the phone.
Okay, there's one thing that like Austin Inspired does really regularly. That ray of sunshine that he flew through was really cool. That he does really regularly that always kind of catches me. And this could be a personal thing, but you do a lot of like Maddie flips or half Maddie swings or whatever, and then you like stop and arrest your motion and then like go back from the direction in which you came.
We've addressed this in the past, Austin.
I really wish that when you did those half Maddie swings or whatever, that you kept that you were able to keep the flow going. Because every time that happens, I feel like the flow is being interrupted.
We talked about this before with us. We've talked about this before.
Like, look at this like TikTok back and forth power loop situation is sick. Austin has really great quad control.
100%. Oh, nice.
That's sick. But that's one of those Oh,
there's
that
some
was
really
good.
big quad goes into cardiac arrest.
And it's recording. Fuck! Finally.
All right. Scores are rolling in. We've talked about this before. Obviously, Austin, you're great. But like it's
that's like the thing that I want like, the improvement in.
You swing, and I think when we said it before is like, dude, just yaw. Like do that half yaw, and then you can capture some of that or invert again, right? So now you're inverted and then roll, and then now you're headed in the other direction. I think so the audience is coming in. Intentionality is an area of strength.
Yeah.
But variety and originality are the areas of improvement that the audience so far has said. Skittles, what do you think? Agree, disagree?
He did have a lot of similar emotions, but they were all on different like sets of gaps. So I was still cool with it. But like maybe if you toss like what you were saying, like an extra flip into one of those, or kind of like even a roll while you're doing the power loop, it would like just kind of, I guess, would increase the variety, right?
I'm curious.
I thought it was pretty good overall. Like he did a lot of different. None of them were exactly the same. He did similar motions, but like they're different combinations of things through different gaps.
So I'm curious because I know that you are very much in the Whoop world. Are you familiar with Austin Inspired?
Yeah, he's an IGAL.
He's an IGAL.
He is an IGAL. Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'd like to
are you familiar with his 5-inch flying?
No. And I just like became more aware of him when I was doing these recent reviews. I think in week like one of the weeks I like almost gave him a top video and I wanted to, but it's like he was just flying in his house and the execution was really good. And then I was like, who is this guy? I haven't checked him out as much. Because when I see someone who can like really execute the tricks well that I'm not like fully like didn't recognize them, I'm always like, well, who's this? So I
Right.
just become more, and I've talked to them on Discord and stuff. So,
Got you.
but I'm not familiar with his 5-inch flying at all.
Austin Inspired says, yeah, I know on the Maddies, but to be fair, I was in the stalls on this one. And fair. That is totally fair. I know you probably don't have a lot behind you on those instances, but maybe you continue the Maddie.
Or, I mean...
And get out, another way.
Yeah, like, even if you're in the stall... So, for me, like, it was challenging because the stalls looked really similar, right? Like, it was very grid. And for me, my favorite parts of the video that we watched was when you were outside, and then when you went up, like, so you explored the other areas of the bando, which were really cool. Like, I really liked seeing that. I think you spend a lot of time, like, kind of in your sweet spot in the stalls, which I think is really technical and hard. But when we kind of see like a Maddie or half Maddie swing, and then like we see the, hey, this is you're comfortable getting out the way that you get out. But even like on the half Maddie swing, which ends the combo, even if you were just a half yaw spin and then continue up into a power loop, so like that would be enough. I think enough variation to make, oh, okay, this is a different take on the combo, right? Yeah. So take it all with a grain of salt. 2.3 scoring categories. Je ne sais quoi point is up.
I just want to make another point. Like, Austin Inspired has been flying for like what, a year and a half?
Sure. I think
he's been a year and a half.
He's been flying for negative 4 months. He hasn't even started yet.
He's barely even started.
Fast.
He's progressed so fast.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I feel like we are still in the early stages of Austin Inspired.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen 2 years down the line, as he continues to progress and clean and hone in on his skills. Obviously we're giving you critical feedback here, because it's stuff we believe in, but like, we know you're really, really good.
We try to give feedback appropriate to the presented skill level, and so it's looking good so far. So just in terms of Je ne sais quoi, but Swift Duck says, is that where Freddy Krueger lives? Dude is in the Krueger stables.
I've seen a good bit of content that Austin, because Austin also plays the social media game a bit, right? And so I've seen a good bit of content that he's put out from this spot, and he's never hit the taller dives. Yes, and in this video, he hit the taller dive, and it was very satisfying.
It's very satisfying. It's very satisfying to see the other parts of the bando. Dana Stallion says, sexy spot, 6 flying. Swift Duck says sick. Fly Zone FPV says Austin inspires. Righteous FPV says Austin just has gigantic huevos. Austin Inspires says, my camera died the first time I did that power loop and then lost my quad for an hour on it before I got it. Way to stick with it. Glad you found your quad. And then 8-Bit FPV says, yeah, good shred, yo. And I think I've nailed. Help me out with the asterisks, guys. Dana Stallion says, it's easy to fall into repetitive tricks. I do that shit all the time. Nope, not going to play the last 10 seconds. That's your time in the sun, Austin Inspired. All right. Whoa, we're over time. Hey, that was a good one to end off the stream on. I appreciate everyone who submitted, everyone who voted, but especially I appreciate you, Skittles, for being on the show, but also for presenting such a great community event called IGAL. InternationalGameOfWhoop.com is where you go. Skittles, what else can we tell the audience before we sign off?
Check out the rest of the season of iGao, the playoffs and the finals, I think, are going to be fun this year. I have kind of a different format I've made up for this year, like kind of taking different competitions I've watched through other things and made like a new format. So I think it'll be interesting, and I'm interested to see what other people think of it.
Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome. So support iGao. iGao 4 currently in full effect. Watch what they're doing, because you can get a lot of inspiration from the pilots who are killing it.
I know that a lot of our viewers seemingly are like 5-inch almost exclusively, but man, if you didn't get in on iGao this year, definitely get in on iGao next year and really challenge yourself, because and it seems like it's been a progression every year. And so if next year is going to be a progression on this year, it's going to be stupid next year.
And all I can
It's
say,
going to be stupid.
all I can say is, as someone who has thrown events in the past, if more people, at least locally in the Midwest, pick up freestyling with whoops, if there's enough audience for it, it is way easier for us to create freestyle competitions in real life that have really good format, because we can use some of the indoor venues and build them out in a way where we can have a really fun in real life freestyle competition. But there has to be an audience for it. So I think if you're curious, iGaos are a great way to experience and understand what's out there. And it's its own thing, but skills translate from 5-inch to
yeah.
And
that's the one thing that iGao doesn't have that I want to have eventually, is there's no, you have to perform your trick like in the 1 or 2 attempts you have that matter, right? It's all, you have this X amount of time to try as much as you can. So eventually I want to have the finals be a live thing where the people are actually there
that
together.
Would be so sick.
And then you only have whatever 2-3 attempts to pull the trick off, because that's a different skill set entirely. I feel
100%.
Not entirely, but definitely it's different than
different set of factors, which I'm a fan of. So learn about iGao, get involved. Skittles, thank you again for being on the stream. We very much appreciate you. Danzy, did I miss anything?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I think
I really like this guys. I really like your guys' format.
Thank you.
I
Thanks,
haven't
man.
seen it at any point. Maybe because I just kind of watch like clips of 5-inch mostly.
Sure.
Yeah.
No
I just wanted to shout out. I saw Finley popped in here
Finley.
at the end. Finley, I got my eye on you, bro. There's some you put out some really good stuff.
Billy's doing some
really
sick
talented
stuff
flyer.
on that bridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, Finley? All right, we're out. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, everybody. We will see you. Actually, wait. 2 weeks from now, we're gonna be in the thick of West Coast Throwdown.
We will. Yeah. We will.
We should probably skip next week or next stream.
Well, it'll be the Monday after.
It'll be the Monday after.
It'll be the Monday after, but I think we will both still be out in Oregon at that point.
We're doing West Coast Throwdown and then road tripping down to Woodstopia. So that week is going to be super fun for me.
What's Woodstopia?
Oh, it's like a race in the woods in Arizona that AK and that crew is throwing.
Oh,
it's the first one, I think, and it's got the same things like Street League, Spec, and Open from class.
Oh, okay, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I'll be seeing you at West Coast.
Yeah, for sure. West Coast is one of my favorite events. So
it is awesome. Last year was my first time going to West Coast. The venue, like that area, is great. I was able to snag a yurt this year.
Ooh, fancy!
I'm a fancy boy. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'm over there by the yurts, so we'll be hanging out.
Oh wait, which yurts? Are you by the river?
Oh yeah, the upper area.
The family side or the party side?
No, I'm up on the top side. Not down where like Jesse and those guys normally are. The other side. Are there yurts down at the lower half?
They built some lower. That's where Vanny stayed last year. They built some.
No, Wait.
No, Vanny had to be carted to the yurts where he was sleeping, even though he was hanging out at the campfire up top.
Well, but I thought it was like kind of like in a weird halfway point in between. But
Oh,
whatever.
is that okay?
It might have been, but yeah, I've got the yurt. I've got one of the new yurts by the river, in the family area, which is awesome. So if you're there,
Yeah.
we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah. Me and Nightwing are like in those 2 spots next to each other. So
Sweet.
and
Nice.
Lonnie's coming with me. So
Nice.
yeah, it's gonna be super fun.
Hell yeah!
Rock on.
All right. Well,
All right.
on that note,
We'll
have
see
a good
everyone
night,
in a month.
everybody. Thank you for
Peace.
joining us. Peace.
Bye.
All right.